Good morning, Stampers. Welcome to Learning with Friends. I'm Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamp and Flair, and I'm so glad you're here. I hope you're having a great morning, or whenever you're watching this. I hope you're having a great day if you're catching the replay later in the day. I am going to show you some cards today made with the grid technique, and I'll show you how to do that. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways, once you get your grid made, different ways to decorate it. It's a very simple technique, and so let's go ahead and get started. So with this technique, I like to use my Simply Score tool. Now you can certainly use your scoring blade on your cutter if that would work better for you, but this works best for me, so that's what I'm going to use. And this is one of those, I kind of need my glasses on, so let me get those on. And I'm going to adjust the light here to try to minimize the glare. So I'm starting with just a piece of basic white cardstock. This one happens to measure 4 3/4 by 3.5, but don't worry about that. You can use any size you want. I'm going to show you the card I'm going to show you just happens to use this size, so that's what I'm using. And this card that I'm going to show you uses the Garden Meadow die or stamp set bundle, and it will be on my Fairless Stamp and Flair blog tomorrow, which is Friday the 23rd. Is that correct? Yes, Friday the 23rd. It'll be posted on my blog, and I'll try to remember to remind you of that. But we're going to make a grid on here. We're going to score a grid. And the easiest way, so I want to go from corner to corner. But how do I know when I get down here, I'm in the same group as when I'm up here? That is not always so easy, right? So what I do is I just pick a point, and I'm going to start at the 5-inch mark. Hopefully you can see that. I think you can. And I just run my score tool down and stay in that grid, and then I can go back up here and line it up with that particular groove. So that's pretty much in that corner, and I'm at the 5-inch up here. So then I am just going to score down at 5. Now I'm going to do this every 1/2 inch, so we will go to 5.5. Now this, when you go over this edge, it kind of wants to wander off. So what I have found is I just back up a bit and I push forward, and then I can come down. Okay, now we're going to go to 6, and I'll do the same thing. I'm going to come down, lined up with the 6-inch groove, and push forward, and then I'll come down. And that's just maybe 1/8 of an inch or so. So at 6.5, we'll do the same thing, get that started, come down, 7, same thing, get that started, come down, and 7.5, same thing. Now we got to do the other side. Now, if I was a lefty, this would work a lot better, but I cannot do anything with my left hand. It's almost useless. It's not even that good at holding this card down because I'm hoping it doesn't move. But we're just going to work every 1/2 inch in the other direction. And so I'm coming down here at 4.5, pushing forward, and then coming down. And I'm trying to make sure I don't block you away so that you can see this. So here's my 4-inch mark. Come down, 3.5, push again forward to get a little groove there started. 3, push forward, come down, and then at 2.5, we'll do the same. Okay, now we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. So I want this corner to be at 5. Now again, I don't know where this is. So there's a lot of grooves on this score tool, right? So if I follow it down, I'm at the 5, and I follow it down, I can put this corner up here at the 5, and then I can align this with the groove that my score tool is in. So there we go. So now we're just going to repeat. We're going to come down every 1/2 inch, and you could use any spacing you like. You could make them closer together. You could make them further apart. That's totally up to you. Experiment with different ones, see what you like, and it may make a difference on how you tend to decorate your card. Lost my spot. Okay, go up, down, 7.5, almost done. All right, now we're gonna go back to this side again, and I'm gonna do it at 4.5, come down, 4, push up, come down, 3, push up, come down, and just keep repeating this until I get to this last one over here. Now I'm going to show you while I have this in here. I know sometimes people have trouble as you come down and you try to score, you have a hard time staying in the groove and it kind of wants to jump out sometime. What I have found is if I hold my scoring tool like you would a pencil, I tend to come out of the groove. I think it's because you're angled at an angle with the groove, and the tendency is then to probably come out. So if I try to hold it flat and as best I can, in line with the groove, and just kind of grab it, maybe like you grab a hammer, and just come down that way, I stay in the groove much better. So that's just a little hint on using the score tool. Now, let me get that out of my way. Like I said, you can use your scoring blade on your trimmer, but I have another piece of cardstock. It's easy to align, in this case, it's very easy to align your diagonals within the groove. But what I found, so we'll make that first one. Okay. Now I have to slide it a 1/2 inch. And once I slide it, what do I align my 1/2 inch to? Well, the only thing I've really got is this little corner over here, which honestly kind of aligns to nothing at this point in time, right? It's just out here in the center of space. And if I push it over to where I think is about a 1/2 inch, so I count over what would be 2 spaces, I'm about right here. So I'm guessing, is that really a 1/2 inch? Now my problem becomes angling this way, and you can try to line it up down here and line it up down here, but I just found that the scoring tool is so much easier. So that's why I use the score tool. So, all right, so we have our grid completed. Let me pull this a little closer. Hopefully you can see that in there. And is that glaring? Try to move that just a little more. Now we can decorate this in many different ways. And hold on a minute, I have to move my scoring tool because it's right where I'm stamping. I just set it on the floor, and that was not a good place for it. I did not want to stamp. I did not want to step on it. That would not be good. All right. So now we can decorate this pretty much any way we want. You can use a background stamp, ink that up, lay it across here, and you will see the light lines. That's the point. You want to see the lines. I used to be a lover of background stamps. I still love them, but for some reason, ever since we've found embossing folders, I no longer have very many background stamps, and I haven't bought one in a long, long time. So what I am going to try to show you how to use here is we're going to use your embossing folder like a background stamp. Now I have this embossing folder I'm going to use. Bring this in. This is the Countryside Blossoms embossing folder. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to ink this up. And the side I found works best. Often we use the side with the logo. In this case, I'm going to use the side opposite the logo because that has all these little lines on the embossing folder. They're raised. This one, they're all sunken in. So here I would be kind of like debossing is kind of the surface it would sort of look like, even though this is the embossing side. So I'm going to ink this side up. And I did try it a couple different ways. I inked it both with using my ink pad and just doing direct to the embossing folder and inking that up. It got a little heavy. It got a little darker than I really wanted it. I didn't want it quite that dark. So I tried it with my brayer, and I'm going to get that out of my way before I get ink on it before I want to. And let's just go ahead and ink up our brayer. I have Fresh Freesia ink here, and I am going to ink this up. I'm using my glass mat because I can run off it and it doesn't really matter. I can clean that up easily. So now we're just going to rub this on here, okay? And we'll do this a few times to make sure we get it fairly well inked. You can see when it started to build up on the pattern will start to show. And again, this is a light colored ink. I probably should have picked something else out that showed a little bit better, but we're going to go with this because this is what I used on the card. So that is pretty well inked. So set my brayer aside and get my ink pad out of my way before I drop my card in there. And I'm going to take this card, and this is the side that I used the scoring tool on, and I went on this side. So this side has the grooves. This side has the raised edges. And honestly, you can use either side. I want to use this side so that my flat areas on here or my raised surfaces will get this ink transferred on there. So I am just going to lay this on here carefully and kind of rub this a little lightly with my fingers. If you want it to be spotty so that it looks like a little bit maybe of aged or vintage, then don't rub every area and you'll get a lot of variation. But can you see that? Isn't that pretty? And you can see the debossed lines in here, or the grooves that we made on the score pal. So that is one way to use the grid technique. Now let me get this out of my way. And let me show you the card that I made with this. So I said this uses the Garden Meadow card or stamp set bundle. And I just put flower pot on here. Here's the, I should say the wheelbarrow flower pot, right? This is the stamp set Garden Meadow. Comes with all kinds of flowers and little elements, cute little gate here, some flutes, some tools, a watering can, a couple nice sentiments. And I used the wheelbarrow today, and I just stamped that and then used one of the Cornelius dies to die cut it and put that on here. I wanted something to get a little bit of pop, so I just added a little stripe of diagonal cardstock on there. So that is our card. Now these gorgeous dies behind it, these kind of circular dies behind it, those are from Thoughtful Expressions, which is also a set out of the current mini catalog. The Garden Meadow is an online exclusive. So, but these dies are in the part of the Thoughtful Expressions bundle. And the inside of my card, I just put this little flower basket from there and colored that. Put the same little flower basket on the envelope. So that is the first card I wanted to show you. Now the second card, I am going to show you a different way to decorate your grid. Now I've already made the grid in this case, and again I just used diagonal. So we're going to go ahead and stamp directly on here, and I am going to use the Inked and Tiled stamp set, and I'm going to use this large leaf here. So let me get that, bring that in, and I'm going to ink that out for shaded spruce. Okay. Set that over here to the side. All right. Now I'm just going to kind of put a little spray of leaves maybe up here in the corner. It's kind of low. And I'm not going to push super hard because I don't want it to get down into those little grooves on the grid. I want the grid to still be able to see it. I'm going to ink it this way this time. And we'll just add a couple more here. I don't really want to get ink on my piercing mat, which I use mostly for stamping. So where shall we stick this one? We're just going to put this one up here. And we will ink it one more time. And again, you can see the grid lines there. So let's just add one more down here. And there we go. We have that corner decorated. Now, it's a little white, right? So let's take some Coastal Cabana ink and a sponge dauber. And I'm just going to color or blend a little ink lightly. Kind of rub off a little bit onto the glass mat here, which is wonderful because it cleans so easily. And we're just gonna, now I am putting very minimal pressure on here because again, if I pushed hard enough, I would get down into those grooves because those grooves aren't all that shallow or deep, right? And we're just gonna kind of ink the edges. Why is that word hard for me to say this morning? I don't know. And we'll just work our way around here. And again, like I said, I'm doing very little pressure so as not to get it down into those grooves in the grid. Because you still want the grid to show. That's the whole purpose of the technique, right? So we will just work our way around. So going right over the leaves, so we pick up a little of the Coastal Cabana in the openings in the leaves, and there we go. Let's close these two ink pads up before I stick something down I don't want in them. And there is our completed grid. Now let me bring this up a little closer so you can see. You can still see the grid lines, but the surfaces are colored, okay? And in some cases, it may have actually gotten into the grid a little bit, but that's okay. For the most part, they are still white. So don't put a lot of pressure. And here is the completed card using that particular background. I used the flower from Inked and Tiled. This is the Inked and Tiled stamp sets in the current annual catalog, so it's been around for almost a year now. So pretty though. And that is how I finished that card. This Coastal Cabana ribbon down here is retired. Found it in my stash. So I'm like, I'm going to use it. It looked kind of pretty with the card, I thought. And then on the inside of the card, I did a partial grid. So I did this only up here in this top corner with the scoring. I just came down kind of randomly. I didn't really care where I ended, and then stamped the leaves there. Now I could have taken my Coastal Cabana and colored that in a little bit. In this case, I did not. So you can see it both ways, both with the coloring over the leaves, with the sponging, and without. So that is my second card. Now, the last card, I'm not going to show you how to do it because really the only thing about this one is I just made a grid, and it's on soft seafoam cardstock, and then I stamped the flowers from Painted Lavender over the top so that you can see how they show, the grid shows. It just gives a little bit more interest than if it was just a solid image, right? So that is card 3. The inside, I stamped the flower here. And once again, and stamp the flower on the envelope. So let's go ahead and bring all 3 cards back in. Here's our first card. This one's with the garden meadow. I get these all in here. And then I'll just do this one. I'll put these 2 like this. Does that work better? Because it's hard to get them all in there. Okay. So those are the 3 cards today that we did with the grid technique. Isn't that a fun technique? Easy, quick. Use whatever tool you prefer, whether you prefer a your trimmer or your Simply Scored tool, both will work. And let me flip my camera back. All right. That was fun, right? Easy. Easy. Sometimes we like those easy ones, and I didn't get any inky fingers today. Last week was inky. This week is not inky. So let's wrap this up. Thank you for joining. I'm so glad you're here. And like I said, this card here with the Garden Meadow stamp or bundle will be on my blog tomorrow. It'll have all the step-by-step directions of how I made it, including a link to this video. And you can go there, download it, and get all the cutting dimensions and everything you need to make that card, or try one of the others, or try one of your own. My favorite thing to hear is when somebody actually says, I'm going to try that. So thank you for watching today. I will see you next week with something else. If you like today's video, you give me a thumbs up. And if you're new and this is your first time here, I'd love to have you subscribe to my channel. Help my channel grow. The more we spread it, the more friends we have, and we can all learn together. So have a great day, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye. God bless.